Oil prices have spiked, the Strait of Hormuz is largely blockaded, and thousands are dead. Why are we here and how did things get so bad? I would like to present to you what I believe is the most relevant series of contributing factors to how and why we are where we are right now. I believe this conflict can be interpreted as the cumulative outcome of multiple decisions made by multiple actors under conditions of uncertainty and commitment constraints. Long before this conflict, the Iranian regime pursued nuclear weapons development. It is likely they were attempting to increase their coercive bargaining leverage and use it as a deterrence for regime security. However, the process of pursuing nuclear capability generated perverse incentives for external actors, particularly the US and Israel, to engage in preventive escalation. During the 2025 12-day war last June, strikes by the US and Israel significantly degraded key facilities and air defense systems around Tehran, thus making further assaults on Iran possible. In January 2026, the United States conducted a rapid military operation in Venezuela and snatched Nicolas Maduro. I think this snatching is significant because a precedent was set that shown that the US was capable of carrying out its threats and that the possibility is not zero, and yet the Iranian regime might not have taken these events seriously enough. Concurrently, internal instability within Iran, including the large scale protests and regime crackdowns, increased the perceived regime vulnerability by the US and Israel. This might have made the US and Israel think that there is a window of opportunity to extract as much leverage as they can when it was still possible. And finally, the diplomatic engagement failed. Negotiations occurred but failed to produce a credible settlement, particularly on the enforcement and long term compliance of Iran and nuclear weapons. To the US, Iran was not serious about the process and was lowballing them. And thus, with all the avenues exhausted, the US and Israel might have therefore decided to unilaterally impose their terms. So, on the 28th of February 2026, joint US and Israel operations culminated in the decapitation strike that killed Ali Khamenei and multiple senior officials of the Iranian military. The Iranian leadership might have misjudged the probability of a strike or faced internal constraints from hardliners that made them from being able to make meaningful concessions. And there are also observable signals of escalations, including the aforementioned prior interventions and forced positioning, and they did not produce sufficient behavioral adjustments, such as better security arrangements for the Ayatollah and his top commanders. From the perspective of external actors such as Israel and the United States, expected utility calculations favored intervention despite the escalation risk. It is unclear whether Israel or the US believed that such a strike could effectively achieve their initial goal of a regime change, and it is even more unclear whether the war planners in Tel Aviv or Washington knew that Iran would be able to massively retaliate by closing the Strait of Hormuz and attacking non involved Gulf nations. But it was clear that in that moment when they chose to go ahead with the operation, they must have wagered that this is a window of opportunity that was too good to miss. And whatever retaliation Iran was to respond with, whether they were wrong or correct in the hindsight, was worth it. And so they dove right into it. As the great Clausewitz puts it, war is the continuation of politics by other means. That means unless the cost of fighting for the US and Iran outweighs whatever concessions they are willing to extract out of each other, the war will continue and the ceasefire wouldn't hold and the Hormuz will remain closed. It remains to be seen, at least as of the making of this video, whether the bargaining friction could be resolved and whether the conflict could reach a conclusion. Only time could tell.